Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our pod.
Hello, how is it going?
It's going pretty good. We have a interesting setup today. As I was printing out our, I don't want to say script because it's not a script, but like our
Our notes.
our summary for where we print out the episode and series information and the plot summary, like all of that, if you want to call that a script. I was printing those out and we ran out of ink.
Yeah.
And we usually always have a backup, but
And
we
I
didn't.
do not.
I had used the backup, and so we are kind of doing all of this. You're going to be reading off of your laptop. I'm reading off of my laptop, which I'm going to have to take my eyes off of the recording stuff, which I've never done before, which is probably going to make me think about it in the back of my brain, but it's okay. But yeah, you've had a pretty busy day with work.
I did.
You had a lot. You had
two classes,
a phone call, and then we went and had some Texas Roadhouse, which was pretty good. Even though
Barnes and Noble.
Even though you didn't order your steak well done, and it came out medium.
I usually order it medium well, and medium well means very extremely little pink in the middle.
Yeah, light pink center.
Very, very, very little pink. This one came back pretty medium.
It was medium. It looked like mine.
It did.
Yeah.
And I really do not like sending things back. So I was trying to cut out of it whatever I felt like I wanted to eat. And I just do not enjoy pink in my steak that much. I don't know if it's a texture thing, but, I didn't send it back or anything.
Yeah.
I ate my shrimp and my potato and my salad.
Yeah.
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 It was good. And then we got a new game.
We did.
From Barnes and Noble.
It's called Flip 7. We're gonna probably play that after we record. Yeah. It was on a recent Smosh Games board AF.
Looked totally fun.
Which was really fun. And sometimes we'll get a game from Smosh that we watched off of board AF, and we'll realize that the game isn't that great. It's the cast that makes it fun and funny to watch, but this game actually looked like a lot of fun. So
yeah, I think a lot of times they're hyping up the game because I think they were sent the game.
Well, yeah,
but and they're promoting it, of course.
They're not there, and I think that's what they say a lot. It's they're not there to win. They're there to be funny and to make a fun episode.
Yeah,
and it's just funny because sometimes, when we got Uno No Mercy, I was like, oh, we're going to have so much fun. I'm like, oh, no, that was just a really funny episode.
Oh, my God. It was hilarious, that episode.
So, yeah, we are starting March off. This is our first episode of March.
Okay.
And the theme is, I don't know why I had such a struggle just now trying to remember what our theme was. Our theme this month, we said in our Firefly episode that it's going to be shows that have cities in the title or a location, destinations in the title, and we kind of had to tweak that theme just a little bit because we're already starting off with technically it's Lake Ozark is the name of the city, but yeah, we are doing Ozark today.
And the Ozark Mountains.
Mountains, yeah, I just meant city names. There's Lake Ozark, Missouri. But yeah, so this is a show that we were very invested in.
Oh my gosh.
From the very first episode.
Totally.
We constantly joke that we love this show, even though it is constantly stressing us out. But yeah, this was just a no-brainer. We're like, oh yeah, we're doing Ozark. I think that was maybe the first show that we said that we were going to do.
Yeah. And we watched this start to finish.
Oh yeah, there was never a lull. Anytime a new season came out, it was like Stranger Things. It's anytime a new season came out, we were immediately watching it. We weren't taking a break from it. Yeah, so yeah, we have a lot to talk about. I'm assuming we have some fun stories to talk about. As always, we don't always go over what we're going to talk about with each other, just to kind of make it a little bit of a surprise and make it a little bit more fun and more loose. But before we do all of that,
loosey-goosey.
Before we do all of that, Anna's going to give us some episode and series information.
All right, Ozark. The pilot was called Sugarwood, and here are some series details. Ozark was an American crime drama that premiered on Netflix on July 21st, 2017, and ended on April 29th, 2022. The series ran for 4 seasons and had a total of 44 episodes. Ozark was created by Bill Dubuque and Mark Williams. Dubuque and Williams were writing partners, best known for writing and producing The Accountant, starring Ben Affleck and Anna Kendrick.
Did we just see that? Did we just really recently see that?
Yeah. I mean, I think within the past year.
Yeah.
The pilot was written by Dubuque and Williams and was directed by Jason Bateman. The inspiration for Ozark came from Dubuque, who is a Missouri native and works summer on the Lake of the Ozarks at the Alhona Resort and Marina. The series revolves around the Byrd family, patriarch Marty Byrd, a financial advisor who launders money for the Mexican drug cartel, relocates him, his wife, and 2 children to the Lake of the Ozarks to set up a money laundering operation after his previous scheme goes awry. The cast includes Jason Bateman as patriarch Marty Byrd, Laura Linney as Wendy, Marty's wife, Sophia Hublitz as Charlotte, Marty and Wendy's teenage daughter, Skylar Gartner as Jonah, Marty and Wendy's teenage son, Jason Butler Harner as Roy Petty, an FBI agent investigating Marty, Isai Morales as Camino del Rio, a lieutenant for the Navarro drug cartel. And even though these cast members are credited, they don't appear in the pilot episode. Jordana Spiro as Rachel Garrison, owner of the Blue Cat Lodge. Peter Mullen as Jacob Snell, a local heroin producer and local crime boss. Lisa Emery as Darlene Snell, Jacob's unhinged wife and partner in the heroin business.
I had to add the unhinged wife part just for my own amusement.
She was nuts. And who can forget the real star of Ozark, Julia
I know I wrote it wrong. I just saw
Gardner, right?
It's Gardner, yeah.
Yeah, as Ruth Langmore. Ozark is often noted as one of the best TV series of the last 10 years. It was the most watched series on Netflix during its run and was nominated for several awards, including winning 4 Emmys. You can currently watch the entire series on Netflix.
So why do you think we love this show so much? Even though we constantly say it stresses us out, it is one of those shows that even though I think I made the joke while we were watching it, but I think I could re-binge it. I think I could.
I totally could.
After we finished the first episode, I'm like, I do this every time we've watched this first episode where I'm like, the show's so stressful, there's no way I can rewatch it because it stresses me out. And then by the end of the first episode, I'm like, yeah, I want to keep watching again.
Yeah.
It's just such a good, it's such a great show.
It just like, okay, well, one, I'm going to say this, it's going to sound kind of goofy or silly, is I would never in any way whatsoever in my life be involved in a drug cartel. So I feel like this absolutely takes me to a world that I do not know.
Yeah.
That I have no idea what it is like. What I have always said, like, this is why I would never be involved in drugs, sell drugs, like any of those kind of things, much less work with agents and family members of any kind of Mexican drug cartel.
Right.
And I think that to me is what draws me in, because it kind of shows me a world that I know nothing of.
Yeah.
And it was just so good. It just seemed very initially like ordinary. Here's this guy. He's a financial planner. He is trolling his wife with cameras hidden and catches her cheat. You know, it's just all very mundane. And then all of a sudden it's like,
it just
bam,
goes balls to the wall really fast.
Like, yes.
Hard left turn.
Yes. And so I feel like that hard left created your hook. It was like, whoa. And it just started hard and just kept going.
I feel,
what do you think?
I feel like, and it's just going to be another version of what you just said, but I think the reason why we both liked it so much was that it was like nothing we had ever seen before.
Yeah.
I think it was just so different. And I mean, it is one of those, like, if you put certain people in certain things, I think we're both going to be interested in watching it. And I think with Jason Bateman and Laura Linney, I think we were both kind of like, yeah, we want to watch this. Like, and Julia Gardner, who wasn't like Sue, I just knew her from Perks of Being a Wallflower, where she had like a teeny tiny role in that. So like, yeah, so it introduced us to her, and she's now one of the, she's a huge, A-lister now who's in all of these movies and TV shows, and
Inventing Anna.
oh yeah, I know that's one of your I know that you love that show so much. But yeah, it's just one of those shows that it's weird because it stresses you out, but it's also weirdly like a comfort show.
Oh, totally.
Because like you can just kind of like play stuff. You can play it in the background and like you can listen to it, but you can hear certain scenes and you're like, oh no, I gotta watch this part.
I know what's coming up.
Yeah. You're like, oh no, I need to stop what I'm doing and watch this part. Like it is kind of like that too. And it's just so well written, and I'll always love a show that's really messed up but still manages to have like a dark sense of humor about stuff. And there are moments in just about every episode where like there's a really funny moment, or there's a part where like you laugh, and you just kind of like they're really good about that because it's so stressful. They're like, oh no, we're gonna make you laugh every now and then. And I just really enjoyed that it was just like nothing we had ever seen, and it was just so different.
Yeah, and it was a show that I think we started telling friends about.
Yeah.
This was, I think, one for sure that we shared with people. I know I told my brother and sister-in-law and my sister and brother-in-law, and I think they both watched it start to finish. And I don't know if we told the friend group about it, but I think we did. And I
think we did too. Because we watched it pretty much when, we watched it like immediately, like the right when it premiered or when it was first added. I don't know what you call it on Netflix, but yeah. So I mean, it just one of those shows that we just both. It's weird because like there are those shows that you love because you relate to it, and then there are the shows where you're like you just said, like I'll never work for the drug cartel, but what's that like? What's that? What kind of life is that?
Because I think it stresses me out, but it also makes me think, what would I have done in this situation?
Exactly.
And you'll talk about it when you do the pilot details, but how he just thought so quickly in the moment he was getting ready to die.
How calm he remains all the time,
Well, throughout the series, I'm talking about the pilot.
Yeah.
Like how
same. Yeah.
He just was like, his mind must be going a million miles a minute to be thinking constantly of ways to keep himself alive.
Plan A to Z.
Yeah.
He has them all. So when we were coming up with stuff to talk about for this show, one of the things that you brought up is that, so I've never been to the Ozarks. I've been to Arkansas, I've been to Missouri, but I've never actually been to the Ozarks before. Have you been to the Ozarks, right?
Yes. So first off, I traveled to Arkansas, where I know they're in Missouri. But I travel up to Fayetteville, Arkansas for work a lot. So I go up in that direction. But also in the summer of 1978, my family took a camping trip up through Arkansas. I think we went to like Hot Springs. We went to Murfreesboro, where you go panning for gold through Arkansas. And then we went up into the Ozarks to go camping. I don't remember the exact city where it is, but they always have what's called the Passion Play. It's about, the Easter, the walking before, Good Friday. And so we went to see the Passion Play. It was freezing cold. My cousins, Gina and Ingrid, were with us. My brother was in the Army by this point. And so it was my sister, our two cousins, my mom and my dad, and I think that was it. And so we spent, one of our traditional summer experiences when my dad was home for the summer, going through the Ozarks to go camping with the family. So yeah, it's beautiful. And I think I've maybe said this before. If not, I think the Ozarks, Arkansas, Missouri, their mountains are beautiful. It's very lush, very green.
Yeah.
I think their fall foliage could challenge a New England fall foliage any day of the week and twice on Sunday. I mean, they're both are beautiful, so I hate comparing them. But I know a lot of people talk about the changing of the leaves up in New England, but I mean, I think the Ozarks are truly beautiful as well. And I remember when I got Arkansas as part of my territory, it was in the fall, and driving from Little Rock, Arkansas up to Fayetteville, you go through the mountains and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. So I actually would love to go on a trip to the Ozarks.
I'd love to. I've never been, so I'd love to.
Yeah. So I think it's probably a fun trip to make, to go road tripping.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've never been to the Ozarks, but I have been on a lot of family trips.
Okay.
And I've talked about like times I've gotten, obviously, when I got in trouble when we went to the one beach place, to the pool security, to the rent-a-cop who was trying to bust us for sitting around a pool. But yeah, there are a lot of other family trips, and I have a few that were memorable, but like the ones that I remember, it's true what they say. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I always remember the trips, the road trips, the car trips to and from these places. I remember the trips, the destinations themselves were fine. We always went to the beach, but there was one year where we went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and that was the year before I think I started high school. And maybe I talked about that on another podcast, but I don't think I have. And that was the trip where, I'm pretty sure that was the trip where my sister lost one of her shoes on the way to Tennessee, and then we stopped in Birmingham, and we stayed at my Aunt Sarah and Uncle Jerry, and that was the trip where me and Tyler, like, I don't know what we were doing. We just wandered off and we're like around, because they lived at this point in time, I don't think they live in this place anymore, but they lived in a very like rural area.
Okay.
And Tyler and I were just very, we liked exploring, and if there was like a patch of woods, we were going to walk around in it. I mean, like, that was just kind of what we did. And we disappeared, and I remember it started raining, and I don't think we got lost, but like, I think we just we'd never been at this place before, so maybe we were a little lost. We just didn't exactly know where we were, and so we had kind of found like a ditch, and that was where we had remembered crossing a little street where the ditch was, so we just started following the ditch back to where the road was. And apparently my dad had been looking for us for quite some time, and he was not happy with us. I remember
How old were you?
We were like 14. Okay. So we got out of the car. He got out of the car as soon as we got up back to the road. It was like we saw the car with a little clamshell on top of it because we were traveling.
Yeah.
And he got out, and he unleashed on us, and it was just like he fussed at us, and I'm not going to go into details because I don't really remember, but I remember like that was the time. That was a time where like it was obviously now I have to think about my dad listening to this podcast, because now apparently my dad's listening to the podcast now.
Oh yeah, hey Lloyd.
So if he listens to this, because I know that they also liked Ozark, I know that maybe he'll be listening to this one, but it was just one of those incidences where like there had just been a lot going on. Mostly, I hate to put it all on someone, but like there was just a lot of tension going on between my parents and Tyler, because Tyler had been getting into a lot of trouble at Parkview at this point in time.
Oh, okay.
And there was just a lot going on, and we were teenagers, and we were acting different, and we weren't scared of our parents anymore. It was that kind of era where we're like, you can yell at us, but we're not gonna cry about it. We're just gonna go.
Yeah.
You're just gonna yell at us, and then we're gonna continue. So it was one of those things where Tyler just made it worse, because Tyler always had to like argue back.
Yeah.
And I was very much like, I've talked about this before. When my parents yelled at me, I just sat there and took it. I was just like, the sooner, whether I felt like I deserved to be in trouble or not, it was irrelevant. It was irrelevant. The sooner that they are done yelling at me, the sooner I can go back to my room, and we can like all calm down, and they will not be nearly as mad in like a day or two, and everything will be fine. Tyler did not follow that philosophy. He had to argue with everything, because I understand, because like looking back on it now, I didn't have, like, my stepmother, Tyler's mom, didn't like discipline me. She was just very much like a stepmom, but since Tyler lived there full time, I think it just bugged him when like my dad would kind of lecture him about stuff, because he's just like, you're my stepdad, but like you're not my parent, you know what I mean? And it's just,
oh, for sure, there was the very separate line.
Right, and it is a very stereotypical thing to be like, you're not my real dad, but like that's how it feels. And I'm sure if Shelly had ever done that to me, I would have been thinking the same thing, but that never happened, so I never had to worry about that.
Right.
But I don't think Shelly ever wanted to yell at me, because I never fought her. So I was just like, she was like, why would I yell at you? But yeah, it was like, Tyler kept making it worse. And so of course, because we both got in trouble, I'm now a part of this, even though I'm not the one who's fighting back with them. And I mean, like, I remember there was like this moment where, you know, my dad got really upset, and he got a little, I would say, was being a little dramatic in this comeback, but he was just, you know, he did the whole like, we'll put y'all on a bus and send y'all back home to your parent. And I remember Tyler being like, okay. He was like, okay, and I'm like, you know, I'm just, and
that was not what Lloyd wanted to hear back.
And of course, like, you know, he kind of called my dad's bluff. They're not gonna, where are you gonna put him on a Greyhound? Where are they gonna go to a Greyhound? You know what I mean? Like, he's not obviously gonna do that. I knew it was a bluff, at least. I think it was just him being angry with us, but it really was one of those situations where, like, looking back on it, I feel like...
See, now I wish Lloyd and Shelly would have put y'all back on a Greyhound. That would have been funny.
Oh, I mean, like, honestly, it wouldn't have... Yeah, it would have been fine, because...
Oh, I've been on a Greyhound bus, and I can tell you, Tyler would not have been happy.
Oh, yeah, I know. Because, I mean, like, I didn't have that great of a time on that trip. So, I mean, like, I would have been okay. I think the only thing I enjoyed was the whitewater rafting.
There you go.
But, yeah, we went to Gatlinburg, and we had a whatever vacation. We went to Dollywood when it was still a fairly new place. And, yeah, that was, like, one of the trips that I remember. There was just always... I think that's another reason why I didn't like traveling for such a long time. And I know I've talked about this before, but, like... I just, the idea of traveling was just always, would just immediately put me in a bad mood, because I always remember these road trips with my family where we just, I mean, they crammed 3 of us into there was 5 of us all crammed into a old 90s Jeep Cherokee where we're all just like crammed together. One of us is in the very back. That's why we had the clamshell. And we would be in the way back. And that's usually where I was. So I could just like lay there and listen to music, which sucks because I couldn't do that now because I get motion sickness really easily, but I could do that when I was younger. And we would just fight, and I think, like, going now, traveling with someone that I don't fight with constantly, I like traveling a lot more now.
Gotcha. Well, I will say that's a different dynamic than us because, well, I think that's a different dynamic, and we talked about this while we were watching, and I think it's part of the next question, was... we did not fight as a family. Yeah. Like we sort of, I don't know how you put it in a way to make sense, but again, I was 10 years younger than my brother, 6.5 years younger than my sister. And so our fights wouldn't have been very like level. We had nothing to really fight about because we were all various different ages. Now, that's not to say that I didn't probably bug the living crap out of my siblings, probably mostly my sister because she was, the one closest to me in age. But I absolutely do not remember fighting on family trips. Yeah. Again, we did not argue with our parents. There was no arguing with my parents or talking back to them, and that's why when I hear your stories, I'm like, yeah, my mom probably would have smacked the hell out of one of us. I mean, like, again, different generations, but we knew that, so we did not argue with our parents. And so, yeah, our family trips were very different. And so I mean, that's not to say that there was never any conflict or anything,
right.
but there were certainly no fights among the siblings or among the siblings between the parents.
Yeah.
But
so it was interesting because like, I think between the three of us, you know, with Wes, with my older stepbrother, he only lived in the house with us for like a year or something like that. And then he was barely there anyway, cause he was in college, and then he moved out. And then I think he went on like 2 trips with us, and that was it. And it wasn't like I didn't know him, but it was just like the dynamic was just a little different. But I think with me, my sister, and my stepbrother, with Tyler, I think we had the parent that we felt okay arguing with, and then we had the parent that we were like scared of. That like we knew if we said the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell any of the stories about my mom and my sister, but like they got into some fights, and I think me and my sister both really learned, we're like, all right, mom doesn't play, and dad, we can kind of fight with him. I didn't fight with my parents. I specifically remember I did not fight with my parents. Maybe there were a couple times where I like got an attitude with them and stuff, and I talked back, but like,
and I'm gonna say, listening to you say that, it's kind of funny because I don't know if I told you this. I think the last time I was at your dad's house, you weren't there. I was dropping off something, and your dad had told me he had listened to the podcast, and it was the time that you had gotten in trouble with the truant officer. Yeah. And he was telling me about a time that Shelly and Sarah had gotten into it or something, and Sarah said she was going to walk home.
Yes, I remember
from
that.
Snowden to Azalea Lakes.
Yes, which she was not going to do. But yes.
Well, she, according to your dad, she started to and had made her way almost to Tiger Bend from their house. And
so she made it like out of our neighborhood.
Yeah, so she made it out of the subdivision, but your dad had gotten in the car and gone to get her and argued with her to get in the car. But she was like, I'm walking. He was like, you're getting in the car and I will take you to your mom. Like, but you're not walking to Azalea Lakes because Tiger Bend to Antioch, all
to Elliott Road.
Yeah, like is all there's no like shoulder.
There's no, and it's all, I mean, and it was even more.
So I think your dad
desolate
is just a big tenderoni like you are,
yeah, he is,
you know, but so
my dad was definitely the one that would like get really mad and yell, and then like an hour later would be like, Jeff, I love you. You just make me so mad.
But I don't think he was happy. Again, I don't remember the total story. So Sarah, if you're listening, Lori,
I remember the story, but I'm not going to talk about it.
Well,
so,
right, but I think
it's not my story.
But
to
I
tell,
think
but,
he was really upset with Sarah, but he wasn't going to let her walk from his house to your mom's house.
And
they
could just
tell
be me.
us.
This is like 1997, so I mean, like, who knows? All right, so we kind of made a joke about it earlier. We can talk about it for just a second. So there's a scene at the beginning of the episode where they're all around the dinner table.
Yes.
And what the kind of the lead in what we were just talking about is, so you said that you and your family didn't really fight because you kind of knew what the end game was. Your mom would have smacked y'all. But what was your family dinner dynamic like? I mean, like, because I know by the time you were like 10, you were an only child, essentially. Like, your siblings weren't living in the house anymore.
Probably at around 12.
12,
By
okay.
12, like, my sister was going to college and then married my brother, Army, LSU, and both of them. So by 1981, both my brother and my sister were out of the house. So by the time I was 12, it was just me. But from what I remember, again, and even smaller, because like my brother in high school had jobs at the YMCA. He worked at Schwegmann's. He, I think at one point worked at like a camera store.
Yeah.
So, and then like in high school, my sister worked at Eckerd's. She was a candy striper. So like after school, early evening, you know, they may or may not have been home. But I mean, if my mom was cooking, we ate at the table. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say we had like, you know, like June Cleaver and we sat there and talked about stuff. But I mean, I can think of like bigger dinners like Thanksgiving or Christmas, Easter, where it was a little bit more formal. But, you know, I told you the joke the other day while we were watching Smosh with Angela, and they were playing Gartic Phone, and she was asking sort of a question,
like to everyone else
that was playing, and no one was answering her. And
because they were drawing on their phones.
Correct. They were actually doing something.
They were playing the game. Yeah.
But she's like, this is how my family dinners used to be. Like, no one answering her.
And Miles is like, Jesus.
Yeah. And I laughed because I was like, I love to talk. I talk a lot, and I try to take over and tell my stories. And that's definitely how I was in the day. In fact, it was really funny. I don't even think I told you this, but my sister called me yesterday and told me she found a letter that I wrote to her in college.
Aww.
And she was just reading it to me. And
when she was in college?
Yes, when she was in college. So I was around 12.
Middle school, okay.
And I was talking about my classes. I was talking about being on my period. I was talking about the boy I liked, who I went to junior high with, but I was also in catechism classes with. And in the letter, I actually was like, here are his stats. As if I knew what his stats were or what that even was.
What do you mean his stats?
I was like, he's 5'6". He has brown hair and brown eyes, and he weighs 120. Like, how would I have known
5,
that?
6, and 7th grade. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
What a stud.
I know. I don't even remember if that's what it is. My sister can share the pictures of the letter with me. But then, I mean, it was just this train of thought that would just go bam, 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 bam. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm writing. This is what I watched on TV.
And that's what it's like being married to you.
Yes.
And I love it.
And that is how I probably was at dinner. I was just so excited to tell my mom and my sister, or if my brother was there, like what had happened to me that day and who I had talked to and what I learned in class. And so there was one time when the family had pre-decided before dinner that they weren't going to let me talk, that they were just going to start talking and just talk.
Yeah.
Like, even if they couldn't think of something, they were just going to continuously talk and not let me talk. It got to the point where
funny.
like I raised my hand like I was in class, and I was like, I even like at the point when you have your hand raised and you're so tired you like have to hold it up. I think I got to that point and I was like, let me talk. So they were just laughing so hard at me. And so at that point, I think if my brother was there, I had to have been like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Because I think he was there. So that's like, I was probably 2nd grade, 3rd grade tops. So yes, my family would
that's really
definitely like not, we would joke and laugh. I think the other thing that I see that I think was happening with the dinner was she was asking for money for a friend who was having a fundraiser who had like bad acne.
Oh, yeah.
And then she didn't want to eat.
I thought you were talking about Rebecca for a second. I was like, what are you talking about?
Movie,
You're talking about Charlotte, yeah.
And I think you and I have talked. I mean, my parents did not give me money. So if I had said, Mom, can I have $10 to give to so-and-so because they have bad acne? My mom would have been like, get the hell out of here.
If it was something that was actually like for school that like was required, yes. But like my parents would give me problems, but like I would have never gone because and when I was in middle school, some club, in order to raise money at lunchtime, they would serve snowballs. Yeah. And they would have like it wasn't it was like strawberry, blueberry, raz. It was like very basic flavors, and it cost $1, which in 1997 that was a lot of money for me. So I was just like, I remember, and I also went to a school where a lot of kids had a lot of money, and they could be like, hey dad, can I get $1 for snowballs? And they would just probably hand them like a $20 bill or something like that. I don't think that was everybody's scenario, but that's how it felt. And, I remember kind of digging through. We had this big change container at my mom's house that everyone would just kind of throw change in, that my mom would kind of throw change in. And I remember like just going and getting like dimes and nickels, and because I went through all the quarters, and because I got a snow cone. I mean, this is back when you're 12 and you could eat whatever you want. So I was just like, and feel fine. So I was just like, I was probably having a piece of pizza and a snowball every day for lunch.
Oh my God.
And, or whatever they were serving. But I was probably having like snacks at the vending machine and stuff like that. But, yeah, so I remember like going and giving the kid at the register or whatever to pay for the snowball, giving him like all these dimes and nickels, and him making this like big deal about it because I'm just like, I didn't give him $1 like all the other kids probably did. I'm just like, I can't ask my parents just for $1 for a snowball. My parents will be like, no. It's just like, no, and we can get you a snowball for probably like 50 cents at an actual snowball stand. So like much cheaper, because I remember like snowball stands always being cheaper. But yeah, I'm not sure what the point of that story was. Oh yeah, because I didn't ask my parents for money. So it was just, unless it was like something for school, but if it was something that I really actually wanted, I had to find a way to get it, because I didn't have an allowance either.
Well,
so I mean, like,
because another part of the conversation was Marty said no, and Laura Linney said
Wendy,
Laura Linney, the actress. I was going between character and actress.
You're good.
Was like, I'll give it to you. Just go to my purse. And he was like, she asked for $50 last week. And I'm like, wow, within the, span of a week, she's asked just in this conversation for $60.
Yeah.
So I was like, that would have never happened like ever with my parents. I mean, getting like $5 to spend on the book fair, which was educational, was a stretch.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I remember when I started going to Woodlawn, when I started going to public school, I didn't get a lunch, and so my dad or my mom or someone would just give me like $5 a week so I can essentially, pay for my lunch, I guess. Like I would just get like a bag of chips and like a can of Coke or something like that. Like gosh. I would just get, like it wasn't like we were poor. It was just that like I didn't want cafeteria food, because the cafeteria food at Woodlawn, except for the French bread pizza, was whatever. I don't think I ever actually had lunch at Woodlawn. I don't think I ever had one lunch at Woodlawn other than there was the one section where for $1 you can get a burger or a chicken or a fried chicken sandwich. Oh. And so there was that line, there was the French bread pizza line, and there was like the regular line.
Like on the tray.
Yeah, like for the tray and everything. And I took advantage of breakfast at Woodlawn because you could have the free breakfast there. But yeah, like it was really so I can get chocolate milk. But yeah, so I would get like a burger or a chicken sandwich every day, a bag of chips, and like a Dr. Pepper or something like that. That's what I had every single day.
I never had lunch in the cafeteria at Franklin. Yeah. I either brought my lunch, and I think
you did off campus, right?
Well, we had off campus, but like freshman year, I brought my lunch 4 days a week, and then my mom gave me like $3 to find something.
Oh, yeah.
Then it was like sophomore year, it was 3 days I brought my lunch, and then she gave me money for 2 days.
Yeah.
Junior year, I think it went, maybe it was still 3 and 2 the reverse way. But then by like senior year, I worked, and then I played soccer, and I also was very famous at Franklin, where I would just go up to people and say, "Can I have like some chips?" Or
you were that kid. Okay.
I actually, you will laugh. I don't know if I've ever told this story to you, but I had a friend named Mark. He was like my freshman little brother. So by senior year, again, I'm always about like saving any like money my parents ever gave me, because they didn't give me money. Like I'd never had an actual allowance. So I would try to save my lunch money. And so by senior year, he would actually tell his mom he needed 2 sandwiches because he was like that hungry, and he would give me a sandwich.
Nice.
Not because like, but he was just always like, you need to like eat real food, not like chips and cookies and stuff. And I was like, well, thank you for thinking. But his mom was like, how much are you eating? And he never told her that he always gave me like, or he would have her make like half an extra sandwich, and he would give me like that half extra sandwich.
Yeah. So then junior year was when they started another club, would serve Godfather's Pizza at lunch.
Oh my God.
$1 a slice. And that was when I had a job. So I was like, oh, Papa Papa's getting 3 slices of pizza because Jeff's got the ducats.
Oh my God, I would die with Godfather's pizza.
I know. Hunt's Brothers is the only one that comes close.
So good.
I know. All right, so our last question. I don't think this one's going to be as elaborate. So the Bird family has to relocate.
Gotcha.
They absolutely did not have a choice unless it was either move or die. So if you could move anywhere in the United States and money didn't matter, where would you want to relocate?
I would probably initially say first just either back to Seattle or to New York. Mm-hmm. Well, one, just because I did love Seattle. It was just like a kind of a lonely time. I've talked about that a lot. But I think with the advent of technology, obviously you would be with me, being able to travel and having unlimited money, I could go and do tons of things that I couldn't do when I was there, and I would have you to do them with. New York to me is just obvious because there's just so much to do there, and it would be fun. And again, it would be a fun place to live and be able to go to lots of other different places.
Yeah.
I did actually think when they were moving, and I always, when I am traveling for work, I always think to myself, could I live here if I had to? And that kind of came up in my mind again a couple weeks ago when I was in Miami and I was driving around going, I could not live here if I had to.
What, in Miami?
Yes. Yeah. It just is not, I don't think, a city for me. I do.
It's also just a target for hurricanes. I mean, I know we live in a hurricane a hurricane zone,
it's
but like
fun because there's like
South Florida's
very international travel, cruising, beaches, but not
that aspect would be great. If we lived in like Fort Lauderdale or Miami, we would be cruising all the time.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to live there either.
Yeah,
so I'm with you.
I don't think I could live there,
Florida.
But I have thought, like when I've gone to the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, I've thought I could live here if we had to.
Yeah.
Because it snows, but not like tons all the time. It's beautiful. There's a lot to do. There's museums, concerts go there. They have the big amphitheater. It's obviously, it's a big hub because of it's where Walmart's headquarters is.
That's
up
right.
In near Rogers, Arkansas. I forget. Bentonville, excuse me, is where Walmart is located. So it's a big hub. It has so I think those are probably the places.
Yeah.
So Seattle, maybe New York, maybe somewhere northwest Arkansas would be great. I think those are it for me. I mean, I probably could think of more, but those are the ones right off the top of my head.
You said something about New Mexico and Arizona.
Well, I just thought like places that would have stuff to do. I don't think I could live like out truly in the middle of nowhere.
No.
Like that did not have at least an airport and some stuff to do. Every time we watch a scary movie and it's this house that is like totally isolated and someone comes knocking at the door, I'm like, this is why I could not live.
Just a house in the middle of nowhere that has huge windows with no curtains.
Right, because, I've joked if there was ever anything happening in this house, I would just need to post on the Facebook HOA page, please come help me, bring a gun.
Yeah.
There would be 50 people at our door in like 2 seconds.
They were like, you had me at gun.
Yeah. Exactly. So... Yes. What about you? Where would you want to go?
So also Seattle or New York. I think New York. So if money didn't matter, obviously, I think Manhattan would be probably number one because major airport, tons of stuff to do. And like I said, if money doesn't matter, we're going to a Broadway show all the time. We're concerts, Madison Square Garden, going to concerts. We can, I know it's not like a quick drive, but we could go to, we can go to like Connecticut, we can go to Niagara Falls. I know that's a drive, but but we can do the Mystic Pizza thing if we wanted to.
Boston,
go to
DC,
go to
Philly.
Jersey Shore, Philly. Like we can go to Scranton. We can just do. There's a ton of stuff for us to do, and it's such a good location. The thing about living in Manhattan that I would probably end up thinking that I'm going to hate but loving is not having a car. I think I would love not having a car.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And not because of the expenses, just because of the idea of driving in Manhattan. freaks me out, but like I would absolutely hate it, and I would never want to do it. I was like, it would take me half the time to just walk, or I would get like a nice little bicycle, or I would get like an
e-bike.
I'd get a longboard. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be one of those guys.
Get your skateboard back.
Hey, what's up? But yeah, other than that, I would say probably this isn't a surprise. I'd probably want to move somewhere in Alaska, but like a big city like Anchorage. I think Juneau just seemed a little too small when we went there. I know Anchorage is really like the only real big city in Alaska, so it would probably have to be Anchorage, but maybe Juneau, maybe Fairbanks, just like not a northern exposure city in Alaska.
Like Sicily.
Right.
Gotcha.
I would want to do, yeah. And then for Washington, as much as I would want to live like near when we were driving out in like Snoqualmie and that whole area, I just loved it out there. Of course, there's nothing out there. That would be your nightmare scenario if we lived out in the middle of nowhere.
Though.
But another one that I thought about just right before we did this is if we could just move there, that'd be great. Just Astoria.
Oh, okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, cute little town. I could work at the museum. I could work at the Goonies Museum.
Exactly.
But yeah, I somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. I think it's like ultimately my answer.
I also would say Spokane.
I was actually thinking of Spokane.
Yeah.
But I've never been there, so I couldn't like say I want to go there.
Yeah, I loved it. It was beautiful. I feel like obviously I have not been there since 2006.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what it's like, but I feel like it has probably grown immensely in almost the 2 decades since I've been there. And I would actually love to go back one day. It's not an easy trek to get there, but I think it would be beautiful.
Why not?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
All right, you want to get into this pilot summary?
Let's do it.
All right, and then after this, I'm making us milkshakes in our slushy machine.
Yummy.
Really excited. All right, Ozark Sugarwood pilot summary. All right, so is it every episode opens or like there's like a cold open and then they show the title card?
Yes.
That was the latter, the second thing I said?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't remember when the title card pops up for this episode. Unfortunately, I didn't keep track of that, so I'll just kind of say this in my first paragraph, even though it's not the opening. So every episode has a cold open, and then they will have the title card.
Yes.
And it's you can refer to it. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. It's the Ozark logo, which there's a giant O, which we both think looks like the scope of a gun. When we were looking up stuff about the title card, it didn't specifically say what the O was, but it looks like a scope to us,
like
the way it's shaped. And then there's 4 symbols inside of the O, and they're all separated by a cross, so each symbol foreshadows events in the episode, and they also spell out the remaining letters in Ozark, which I did not realize until you pointed that out to me.
Yeah.
Like a week ago or something like that.
Oh, I knew that back then, though.
I know, but you pointed it out to me, and I was just like, oh, I never even thought of that. So the symbols foreshadow what's going to happen in the episode, and they also spell out the remaining letters, the Z-A-R-K. So in the symbols for this episode are a kneeling man, a skyscraper, a gun, and a man that's upside down. Kind of looks like he's falling.
Yes. And so the thing became, at the beginning of each episode, you started to look for those symbols.
You were like, okay. I remember it was like every time we were like, okay, we have we have this. Okay.
Yes. And a firecracker, some popcorn.
And then you would be like, oh, there's firecracker. And I'd be like, oh, there's the popcorn. We would just kind of...
You would look for it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Chicago-based financial advisor Marty Bird makes a speech in a voiceover about money, its absence in modern society, and its influence on a man's choices. While he takes a cooler of fish out on a lake and drives a boat to an undisclosed location, only to show that the coolers are filled with money and he's hiding it. Yeah, it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was like, I think that's the thing that stresses me out about this show is like, okay, you're going to get these garbage bags full of money and you have to bring them somewhere. I think that's where I'm just like, okay, is this a setup and you're going to like have some guys wait for me? I don't know. Like seeing all that money, I'm just like, people want that money. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that money anywhere near me. Unless you're giving it to me, there is no payback. Marty finishes giving his speech to a couple he is advising. While talking with them, he gets an email from Bob Lilly that has a video of a man and a woman having sex. His partner, Bruce Liddell, enters and gets the couple to sign with them for an increased price. Bruce's realtor / fiance Liz shows him and Marty a possible space for a new office. After she leaves, Bruce notes that he saw the video on Marty's computer, assuming it was porn, and wonders why Marty is living a subdued life compared to him, both sexually and financially. He gives Marty a leaflet for Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks, suggesting they invest in land there. Liz returns, and Bruce immediately agrees to take the office space, though Marty resists. Marty's eating dinner with his wife Wendy and their children, 15-year-old Charlotte and 13-year-old Jonah. The parents break up an argument between the kids while Marty stops Charlotte from donating to a classmate with psoriasis.
Yeah.
Despite Wendy's objections, tired of her always trying to get money out of him. At dinner, he again watches the video behind Wendy's back. The woman in the video is revealed to be Wendy, which I forgot that we weren't supposed to know that was Wendy in the beginning. That was supposed to be his wife in the beginning.
Well, we didn't know her as a character
right, but
yet.
we didn't see her face until they got in that one position and she turned her head around.
Oh,
and
I knew
was
that was her.
Well, right, but I'm just saying, like, we weren't supposed to know that was her until this reveal because, like you said, we didn't know what she looked like, but also, like, you didn't see her face until they were in the living room together.
Gotcha.
After putting the kids to bed, he drives downtown and picks up a prostitute who praises him for his hard work before giving him oral sex. This actually isn't happening. This is all happening in his head, and he's whacking off in his car. I have masturbates, but I'm gonna say whacking off. And he's halted by the woman he is thinking about having sex with. He gets a call from Bruce, who is at a trucking warehouse with its father and son owners, the Hansons, not the Hanson brothers. The Hansons, not Mbop. Although they're from Oklahoma, I think. When Marty resists, Bruce tells them that Dell's here. Marty arrives at the warehouse's office where he is greeted by Camino Del Rio, a lieutenant in the Mexican Navarro cartel, for whom Marty and Bruce launder money on the side with, and the Hansons transport the money. He demands $5 million that was stolen from him, while Liz, in attendance, goes to the restroom. He tells the story of a cashier at his father's store getting caught stealing for her family, and asks what those present would do if they were in that situation. Everyone except Marty says they would give her a second chance, while Marty believes Dell is fishing for discrepancies and has nothing on them, calling it a ruse. Dell responds by shooting Liz through the door. The younger Hanson panics and implicates himself and Bruce as the thieves trying to exonerate his father as Dell's men lead them away. The men dissolve Liz's body in a barrel of acid just casually in the background of this entire scene as Dell and his men kill the Hansons. Dell asks Bruce how he stole from them, and he admits that he and the younger Hanson rigged the weight of the truck so they could take money from them, stealing $8 million total. He insists that Marty knew nothing about the theft and tries to apologize to him before Dell kills him. The gun. I like, this is at the point where, obviously, when all of this is happening, I'm like, I could not deal with this. Yes.
But I think I told you when we were watching it, I'm like, I think you maybe would think, I guess, he thought he wouldn't miss $8 million or $5 million. But I'm like, they count their money.
I was about to say, like, they have people that work for them that their
sole
job is sitting in the scenes where the people are smoking cigarettes and counting all the money.
Yeah.
So this is the kneeling man and the gun.
Yes.
Because they're kneeling and okay.
Yeah.
As Dell prepares to kill, he insists Marty knew nothing about the theft and tries to apologize to him before Dell kills him. As Dell prepares to kill Marty and his men dispose of the bodies, he begs him to let him call his children. Dell ignores him and says he plans to kill Wendy next. And as he raises the gun, Marty notices the dropped leaflet of the Ozarks. And he claims that the Ozarks are a prime laundering spot. He promises to reimburse him for the stolen money and launder $500 million in $500 million in 5 years. Just making sure I read that correctly. Dell puts the gun to his head, and Marty thinks of a happy memory of the kids and Wendy playing on a trampoline with him, only for Dell to let him live. He gives Marty 2 days to return the stolen money in cash, and then another 2 days to move to the Ozarks. So 4 days total. Yeah, 4 days total. He has, to get all this taken care of. Marty tells Wendy what happened, who begs him to go to the police. He refuses, knowing the cartel can find and kill them regardless, and tells Wendy to start planning their move now. The kids object to moving. Marty dissolves his business to help pay Dell, and Wendy tells the man from the video that her family is moving. She reluctantly tells him what is happening, and he warns her to pull their money before the government catches on to what Marty is doing and freezes his assets. Bob Lilly, who you saw the email was from at the beginning of the episode, is actually a private investigator hired by Marty to track Wendy, informs him that the man that Wendy is having an affair with is Gary Silverberg, and Sugarwood is his nickname that Wendy has for him. You can guess what Sugar and Wood have to do with each other.
Yep.
And he and Wendy meet at least twice a week. As they discuss how difficult it would be to make the birds disappear, Marty gets a call informing him that his accounts have been emptied. Lily gives him Silverberg's address. Wendy returns to Silverberg's apartment to find Dell and his men waiting for her with the beaten Silverberg. As Marty storms towards Silverberg's building, Silverberg's body is thrown from the balcony and lands in front of Marty, which was, first of all, the skyscraper and the falling man. Yeah. Those are the symbols. Yes. If you've been keeping up, but that whole scene.
I mean, when that happened,
that was jarring. Yeah,
I think that was definitely like, okay, I got to keep watching.
Yes,
as morbid as that was.
Yes.
You were like,
oh yeah, I
we
agree.
were both like,
yes. As Marty, so Marty, this body is thrown and lands right in front of Marty, and he just turns around and gets back in his car and drives off. As Marty drives away, he gets a call from Wendy and picks up to find Dell on the other end, believing Marty was trying to skip town. He again asks the question about the cashier, and Marty says to fire her. So it was not the first time she stole, but the first time she was caught. Satisfied, Dell leaves Wendy alive. They return home, and he tells her, "You're welcome." You're welcome.
You're welcome. You're still alive.
As Marty empties his bank account, FBI agent Trevor Evans intercepts him to ask if he's in trouble, which that part was actually also kind of funny with the note. With
yes.
the note.
Is this a ransom?
Which he denies.
Yeah.
He finds that he is about $7,000 short of paying off Dell, who offers to buy his car to finish the debt. He orders Marty to clean the already clean $8 million by the end of the summer as proof of concept, or he will kill him and his family. Marty notes there was a discrepancy when he said he was owed $5 million, while Bruce and the younger Hanson took $8 million. Dell admits that Marty was right, and he was trying to bait them into admitting it. Wendy ducks Charlotte's questioning as they pack and begs her to help the move go smoothly. Evans and Agent Roy Petty remove the bugs they planted in the new office space, and Petty laments that Bruce would have made an excellent informant and wonders where Marty is now. So yeah, the feds were already onto them, already knew what was going on, and so now, they gotta basically start over. As the birds drive to Missouri, Marty pulls over, claiming he needs to relieve himself. He walks behind a tree and finally cries. I mean, how this man stays straight-faced all the time and never has a breakdown, finally has a breakdown. And yeah, he walks behind a tree and weeps for what he has done to his family before wandering to the edge of a cliff, staring at a lake, and his family joins him while Deck's Dark by Radiohead plays.
Your favorite.
So Radiohead's my favorite band. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but Radiohead's my favorite band, and I love that they're just a band that has never gone away, and their music still randomly pops up in TV shows, and I love it.
Yes.
All right, so we don't need to... I mean, first of all, if you have not watched Ozark at this point, and you need to either get on Netflix or get a subscription to Netflix, and you need to watch Ozark, because it is amazing. Some really great television. I'll say that for certain. Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot. Ugh. Forgot about my outro. All right, you think that wraps up this one?
Yes, go watch Ozark right now.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about it anymore.
It's so good.
Y'all just need to go watch it. All right, that wraps up this episode of We Judge a Show by its pilot. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on whichever platform you're listening to this podcast on. That way you'll be notified every time we publish a new episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at We Judge Pilot Pod. We're also on Facebook. You can leave us a comment, suggest a show for us to watch, or leave some emojis in the comments. What you got?
The mountains, trees, a bird to represent their last name.
Nice.
Lake, water, the bowl of sugar, the wood, A gun, any of the money ones, the cash, the bags of money, the suitcase, because when he's in the bank, which was a great scene.
Yeah, it was.
The car, the laptop, the Mexican flag, the oil can, the crying emoji, the scale, because they were trying to fool him, and a toilet for the bathroom. And any of I think there's a skyscraper building one. Yeah. And that's about it.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to head out, but we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.